All right, here we go. Back after pretty much a month, which is great. And transitioning out of
Yeah,
school for you at least, so that a little bit difficult. Yeah, I don't know if we'll
yeah,
keep
it's
doing these
got
on the same day or anything. We might just want to find a better time at some point. We're not sure though. Um,
yeah, we'll have to see. Things definitely got a
yeah.
little bit crazy for me at the end of the semester there, but
hmm
glad to be back.
Right. Yeah, my work schedule's been like different every single week too, which has not been helpful. Gotta
Oh
love
yeah,
that.
that makes things difficult too, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it's not fun. So I guess 3 weeks late, but we're gonna finally review the last three episodes of Andor.
Yeah,
Um, though granted, we watched them 3 weeks ago, so we might not have them down completely memorized and all that. But we're gonna go through them. We're gonna see what we can remember. I think just before we get started, what I do remember is I really liked episode 10, and then I thought that episodes 11 and 12 were good, but weren't didn't stand out too much to me. And I don't know. I feel like it's kind of difficult because I felt like they could have made a better ending to the series, but obviously Rogue One is effectively the season two finale,
mm,
so the series just leads into that. So it doesn't really have like a true resolution for the show. But I did watch. It did make me want to watch Rogue One, and I did the next day. Um, so I did do that, and I accomplished it. But yeah.
I think that episode 10 may have been my favorite episode, probably of the entire season, maybe of all Andor. It was
hmm
pretty much perfect, I thought. The subsequent
Yeah.
two episodes, honestly, I don't know if I remember them at all. I remember thinking they were good, but not like
hmm
incredible. I haven't watched
Yeah.
Rogue One again yet. My plan right now is to rewatch the entire season with my family and then watch Rogue
Oh yeah.
One
Yeah. Sure.
after that. But I do want to do at some point I do want to do like the entire Andor experience where you watch season 1, season 2 and then Rogue One
And then Rogue One.
in
Yeah,
quick
that'd be kind
succession.
of fun. Um,
Mhm.
could you do that all in a day? I don't know. Was it 12 episodes per
No, because
season? No.
it's 12
That's
episodes. Each one's like an hour. I
but
mean,
you
I
could
guess
pull
they're
it off
generally a little shorter
technically.
than an hour.
All right, yeah.
You'd be doing
Oh man,
nothing else, but it's theoretically possible.
your internet quality's going crazy right now. It's
Yeah,
really
I'm
spotty,
sorry.
it seems. Yeah.
My
That's
internet at
that's
home is
fine.
absolute garbage.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll work with it though. We'll work with it. So yeah,
Sounds good.
we'll start by going episode 10. Do you have that pulled up?
I believe I do,
Pulled
yes.
up. You do? Okay, right here. Perfect.
This is the very
Obviously,
start of it.
again, the year gap. We've mentioned this before, but like having like it's very clear that like there was a vision for the show that was much longer, much more spanned out, and having to do a 1 year time jump in between each trio. It makes
Mhm.
it feel a little bit incoherent as the story progresses. There feels like there's some information you're missing in between, and that does, and we do have some of that here as well. But yeah, anyway,
I
so
think this was the spot for me where it felt like the difference was the most jarring. Like
I
in the
agree.
others,
I agree.
I kind of felt like it was more a feature of the show than like a downside because you got this feeling that in between
hmm
Andor was like continuing to work, the rebellion was
hmm
continuing to grow, things were progressing off screen, and you understood that without seeing it specifically. But then in this one, all of a sudden, it was like everybody hates Luthien, and where did that
Right.
come from? And you just never really find out
Yeah,
specifically what
I
it
think
is.
part of that could just be the fact that episode 9 did conclude fairly well. Like you probably could have written a show where episode 9 is the final episode
Yeah,
before Rogue One in a way. So because of that, I feel like it does feel a little bit jarring. Like there wasn't really much setup at all for these final trio episodes. I mean, like obviously the whole season's kind of been building towards this. We know that Luthen doesn't survive. Um, so obviously we kind of both expected him to die here, but um,
right.
Yeah.
I think we predicted that.
Mhm. Anyways, yeah. Let's see. Let's go. This episode opens with
You open with
Dedra.
like the Lonnie revelation, don't you?
Is that right? Oh yes, the Lonnie. That's right, Lonnie.
I guess you have a little bit of Dedra right at the start here. I don't remember what that is, though, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't know either. But yeah, Lonnie discovers the Death Star plans or some information regarding it.
Yep.
And obviously he's panicking. He knows that he's found something he shouldn't have. And I mean, obviously, we see how Krennic reacts to Dedra's poking around, and obviously, Lonnie is probably right to be afraid in this instance.
Yeah, for sure. This is like incredibly huge.
Right.
And it felt like a fairly fitting end to Lonnie's character, too.
Yeah.
I mean, he was always more of a minor character, but like him being shot by Luthen after giving away this information was kind of perfect.
Yeah, I think it's like you could like it's like he knew that he would eventually have to sacrifice something or go too far. Obviously, he wanted out at the end of Andor season 1. Luthen wouldn't let him.
Right.
And I think that he kind of just had this dwindling thought that, yeah, I could be cooked at some point here. And obviously, this also does kind of set up, like, it's very consistent with Luthen's character, obviously, to try to tie up any possible loose ends to secure the information as much as possible and get it to the rebellion or anyone that could be of help.
It kind of mirrors the beginning of Rogue One too, where Cassian shoots that guy who tells him about the Death Star.
That's right. Yeah, that is kind of. I never really drew that comparison, but now that you mention it, yeah, that does. It's certainly, and like you can tell, obviously, that Cassian is a student of Luthen.
Yeah, for sure.
Very much was a very treasured individual in Luthen's sect. And yeah, obviously you saw it in Rogue One as well. Though at least I think Andor does have a little bit more sympathy, I guess, for some characters.
Yeah, arguably.
And obviously, like throughout Rogue, like obviously Andor does have like his arc within Rogue One as well. With the whole,
he won't shoot Galen or so.
He won't shoot Galen or so. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, but but that is a good parallel to point out.
After that, start to move pretty fast in this episode.
Oh yeah. So he
meets with Clea and tells her that.
So now, obviously, these are the only two people with the information.
Yep. And then he goes back to the place to like destroy all the evidence of what they've been doing there.
Yeah. Destroys the evidence. Obviously, he's incomplete in his attempts to destroy all of it, but I mean, at this point, it doesn't really matter because it seems that Dedra's comes in and she already knows that he's her guy that she's been searching for, which I feel is a little bit strange because I do kind of want to know how she came to discover this. Because I didn't see like any indication of any previous episodes that she had like a true line to Luthen.
That's a good point. I feel like they talked about it a little bit, and I just don't remember. Maybe they were just like she pinpointed his location or something.
Right, maybe. And I guess it probably had more build-up from season 1 than season 2 as far as her search for her Axis person, which is Luthen. Obviously, she brings the like whatever part for whatever it is to Luthen, which of course tells Luthen that she discovered his secret
from Starpath unit from season
Yes,
1.
yes, from season 1.
Where is it?
Somewhere in here.
Oh, I missed it. Show that.
Real
There it
quick,
is. This thing.
Yeah, that thing. Gosh, was that was like right at the start of season 1 or whatever that was at play?
Yeah, that's how it ended
Season
or
1's kind of
began
spotty
because
for me.
Cassian stole the Starpath unit. He was trying to find someone in the rebellion to sell it to. I think so that he could like raise some money to get off planet, and that's how he met Luthen.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go with that there. I don't know for certain.
That scene is really showing kind of Dedra's arrogance, I think, because she's found the exact unit and marched right up to his door with it, and she kind of pays for it. Her putting on this whole confrontation show for her own benefit.
Yeah, I will say
so well.
Wasn't expecting Dedra to get the end that she did in the show, but I kind of liked it in a way. I wasn't disappointed with what they did. But yeah, it's clear that her obsession with Axis is almost like mirroring Cyril's obsession with Andor, which of course gets him killed. Dedra's obsession with Axis, Luthen, is going to be basically her own undoing. She gets into hot water with the Empire pretty quickly. Obviously, with Krennic for her dilly-dallying into Imperial records that she shouldn't have. And then
because that's
also
how
it does seem like she gets in trouble. She gets in trouble for this specific raid, though, right?
She does, yeah. She actually gets arrested for this because Coruscant isn't under her jurisdiction. It's that new ISB guys area.
Right. Yeah, but yeah. I'll get to that later. Then, of course, Luthen does what he knew he'd have to do at some point to try and prevent any possibility of himself giving the information that he knows. He's obviously a major figure within the early stages of the rebellion, so he'd have a lot of information needed for them. And they quickly put him on life support to try and sustain him, which of course is what sparks Clea's mission, which is the majority of this episode.
Well, you also have these interesting flashbacks.
You have the backstory flashbacks, as well.
I thought these were really, really interesting because I know there's that theory floating around there that I don't know much about, that Luthen is like an ex-Jedi or something. And I would have expected there to be some, perhaps, indication of that, if that is true.
I never heard that theory at all, which...
Oh, okay. Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. That's new to me. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised that people would theorize that. I mean, they'll theorize anything about any character. I mean, there was a theory that Clea is Andor's sister, which I don't know if that's still up in the air or not. I can't remember if that's been. I feel like I saw something saying that that's not the case. But I could be wrong. And of course, it's going to be just a random article from who knows what about whatever topic. So I don't really know, but I don't know. And yeah, I really like I thought the flashbacks were quite interesting to show the dynamic between Luthen and Clea.
Yeah, I enjoyed them. They weren't what I expected, but I appreciated them. And them juxtaposed with the scene of her literally having to go and kill her father, essentially, was really great.
Right. And obviously, this is the first of the flashbacks. This shows Luthen's time as an Imperial officer of some sort. He seems to be like a commander or like a battalion leader or something like that.
Yeah, it's kind of reminiscent of what we used to see in Solo when Han is serving in the Imperial whatever, except Luthen is higher ranked here than Han would have been.
For sure. And although obviously Luthen is pretty shell-shocked at the moment,
Yeah.
Obviously, the episode title is like "Make It Stop" or something, right?
Yep. Make it
Yeah,
stop.
"Make It Stop." Um, yeah, and then he finds Clea here, and presumably just flees the battle scene, finds refuge somewhere.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, there's obviously jumps between each of the flashback scenes, and then of
Right.
course flashing to the present, what's going on
In between
with
that, you have
in it. Yeah, but
you have
I do like
Dedra
these
at the
scenes because
hospital.
they help. It showcases Clea's emotional attachment for this mission. It also paints both
Yeah.
of these two characters as willing to sacrifice basically anything for the sake of the rebellion. Um, which obviously I think it's been pretty clear with Luthen, at least in season one. Season two really built a lot on Clea as a character, which I have mixed opinions about because I thought Luthen was really interesting, but I do really like what they did with Clea this season. I just wish that um, see a little bit more of Luthen in action, but
I agree, although
yeah.
I'm not as annoyed at them for focusing on
Mhm.
Clea as much as they did now that they gave us this great payoff at the end.
Right.
Still would have liked more Luthen, of course, but this makes
Mhm.
it like kind of justified.
Right. I think so. So Clea obviously has to infiltrate the the hospital
Yep.
and take him off life support, and she does it. I, don't know, I thought it was kind of interesting to see like how she was able to do this, basically being a one man army or one woman army within to successfully complete the mission. And obviously,
Yeah,
one thing
it
I do
was
like about this
interesting.
episode is that like it pretty much exclusively focuses on Luthen and Clea. It's not like the
Mhm.
other episodes that go between whatever five storylines are going on with all the different characters. It's just focused on one specific, um, one specific like scene, one specific portion of the entire series, which I think is what makes
Right.
it more effective. Um,
I will admit I was very, very focused on the flashbacks while I was watching this. Like her
mhm,
sneaking into the hospital is great and interesting and all, but that kind
right.
of paled in
Yeah, and
comparison to the
obviously, yeah,
flashbacks for me.
it's just kind of like a kind of basic, like breaking and entering whatever that you've seen like 100
Yeah.
times in movies. But yeah, the flashbacks in between probably just serve to just give something much more moving and important while we watch while we watch her infiltrate.
This
I think
flashback in
this flashback.
particular, I really appreciated because you kind of got Luthen's philosophy of how to
Mhm.
begin a successful rebellion, and then you see
Right.
him doing that with Clea after waiting for so
Wasn't there
long.
one flashback in between the first one and this one?
Yep, there's the one where they
The one in the
essentially
market or
see
whatever?
the Empire execute a bunch of people
That's right. Yeah.
off screen, of course, because
Yeah.
it's
It's
Star
Star Wars.
Wars, but it's
Yeah.
pretty clear what's happening.
Hmm.
This was also like all the flashbacks were good, just
Hmm.
really great stuff.
Yeah. Nice.
There
Yeah. Go
was
back
one
to
other too where you kind of see them acting as father and daughter for the first
where
time
this one
in the
here.
junk shop. Yep.
Hmm. Yeah, and I think it is kind of have that interesting dynamic that I feel like you've seen before in other films. I can't really think of an example where you have like the older disgruntled man and his and a younger character. And
I would
obviously
guess that.
Luthen, I really liked how they characterized Luthen here. He's more standoffish. He's disgruntled. He's
Mhm.
seemingly lost all hope. Yet Clea has effectively given him a purpose. So he still wants to do that. But obviously he's much more avoidant. I guess you could say much more disagreeable. or more agreeable.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm using words wrong. Obviously, I think Clea proves herself to be useful in this particular scene, successfully bartering.
yeah. I mean, Luthen is a very, very cynical hero
Right.
because
Hmm.
he believes that even if there's going to be success in the rebellion in the long run, it's going to be at the cost of his own conscience, which
Right.
ends up being
Right.
true.
Hmm. Yeah, and obviously, like I feel like there is a big factor of patience within Luthen's character as well. He waits for the most opportune moment. He doesn't just do something in the moment that would be uh, that might feel right in the moment. He also like will consider potential outcomes. What's the outcome of this or that? How is this going to be perceived? Will this actually spark anything, or is this just a one-off event? So he is calculating in that way. Obviously, Clea, of course, shares those a lot of those traits.
Yeah, absolutely.
At least, yeah, Clea. I think that it also just kind of shows that Clea had to learn, I guess, that patience and calculation techniques. Um,
For
and
sure.
she probably, yeah,
She's clearly a lot more hot-headed
right.
than Luthen is, which is an interesting comparison of their two characters.
Hmm. Yeah. We can go back to the other flashback we were talking about. This one, yeah.
This one was
Hmm.
pretty great.
This one was really good, yeah. Gosh, I wish I remembered what the actual dialogue was.
It was
It
very well
basically like
written.
Luthen presents the detonator to Clea, and then and what happened? What does he like say after? Like,
I'm ashamed to say I don't remember. It's
yeah,
been
was he like trying to
a
present
month
it as
since
like
I
a
saw it.
choice for Clea to make?
I think he was, and I think he kind of wanted her not to press the button to kind of protect her or something. So you
Hmm.
see his growing fatherly feelings toward her kind of being.
Right,
You see them at this point in the movie, but at the
maybe.
same time, you see him recognizing the necessity of doing this rebellion in spite of what future he could have as a father. And I don't who ultimately pushes the button. Is it him or her?
Hmm. I can't remember. If you want to maybe look through the scene to find that quick.
We made our choice.
That's after they shot it, or
Oh, you're right.
yeah. Um,
Do it.
You think I won't?
You have every right.
yeah. I think he's also kind of trying to see whether Clea actually wants this, or to see if perhaps there is like a
Why do
possibility
you
to
keep
live a
doing
more
this?
peaceful
Because
life.
today it's real.
You promised.
Yeah,
I
that's
lied.
probably true.
You
Hmm.
just did.
Um,
Don't.
yeah, that's
Okay,
Look
so
at
he
me.
ultimately pushes the button.
right.
Interesting.
Yeah, Luthen does.
Unturned.
It's like Luthen maybe wanting to like bear more of the burden of this scene, I guess you could
Mhm.
say.
Trying to
Um,
protect her from it in a way.
Trying to protect her, take on the burden of himself, which is obviously very much in character. He does take on he's not unwilling to take on large burdens.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, yeah, that was a good scene. Um,
It was phenomenal flashback.
right. Hmm.
And then that's like right before she cuts his life support. Wow,
Right,
my
right.
internet is so
Yeah, that
bad.
that was the last flashback, right?
Yep, that's
So
the
yeah, that's
last
the most. It's the
flashback.
most important one. So yeah. Um,
And then you see her in his hospital room removing like
mhm.
the thing that's keeping his heart beating or whatever so that he dies.
Yeah. And then, of course, at that point, she now truly is the last person with the information, which sets up for the remaining 2 episodes.
Yep.
Yeah. So let's go to number 11. Who else knows? So this one ends with like how does this? I forget what actually happens in this episode.
I
the
honestly
finale.
don't remember this episode at all. I'm
This-
seeing now that we have
So
Dedra
this is
talking to
Dedra
Krennic.
getting interrogated by Krennic yet.
Oh, we have Clea make it to that one safe house.
The safe house, yeah, and then she tries to communicate.
She sends the radio signal or whatever to that guy whose name I can't remember. I think they use the radio signal to find her location, like the Empire does. And then
yes, they hack into the frequency or whatever to trace it.
Right. And then here they are launching a raid on her thing.
Right.
Her room. And then Cassian and K2 and what's that other guy's name? Some other guy who's in Rogue One.
Yeah.
It's been a while since I watched it.
Does he even have a name? I know he has a name.
I know he has a name because I remember when they introduced it.
Every character in Star Wars has a name.
Yeah, pretty much.
Anyways, yeah. So
I mean, like, this is a great episode. I don't know if we need to do a play-by-play of it like we did with the last one.
There's as much going on here. We could maybe skip through it though.
It's like a classic Star Wars. I mean, Krennic and Dedra was probably the best part, but then you have like Clea sending out the message. They find the message. It gets to Cassian. Cassian goes to get Clea. The Emperor goes to get Clea, who will win. It's pretty stock, like action movie race,
It's not
or race to save the individual.
Yeah, there's not really anything unique going on.
Yeah,
in these last 2 episodes, nothing super creative. There's also not a ton of even like character work in these episodes either. So I was rather disappointed with these 2. Not to say that they were bad, but that I was left wanting more.
Yeah, I agree. Because like episode 3, episode 9 were both great ends to their respective like 3-episode long things. And I think episode 6 was pretty good too, although I don't remember exactly what it was. And then the end of this like arc was just a little bit not bad, it was just like boring almost, or not exciting.
A little bit, yeah. Obviously, like the episodes 7 through 9 before this were the best of season 2. Obviously, episode 10 was pretty good, but then they kind of fell off towards the end. Obviously, though, you also have to consider that these are supposed to be like directly before Rogue One, leads up literally directly to Rogue One, which is the true season 2 finale. But I do feel like
I imagine watching Rogue One after the realization that Bix has Cassian's child is a little bit jarring with the end scene of him like kissing Jyn as
she doesn't kiss her, he hugs her.
Okay, fine.
there's not really any indication of anything romantic between the 2.
They're sitting at the sunset on a beach. I don't know. I felt that there was, but I suppose objectively there's not necessarily that implication.
I mean, they're the 2. I mean, they are basically they're basically like 2 of the most important rebels. Like so of course they're going to have bonded a little bit, like in a friendship with all that they've accomplished at Jeddah.
Sure.
Going to Edu, and then Scarif. So I don't have an issue with it. It's just like it's a hug, whatever.
Maybe I'm overreacting. I don't know.
Yeah, I think you are, but whatever. Back to Andor. We can talk about Rogue One more after we're done with the Andor. So we have the box.
Is there
That's
anything
the
else
scene.
we
She's
want
in
to
the
say
safe
about this
house.
episode? I mean, I don't know. It was kind of unremarkable.
It kind of was, yeah. Wow, I'm so tired today.
Seeing kind of the Cassian and K2 interact,
Right.
like apart from combat or whatever, was kind of interesting. I enjoyed that bit.
It was good. I think that I think he's a pretty important connection to Cassian and Rogue One, so it's good to see that.
Right.
Obviously, like a lot of Star Wars characters have their loyal droid that they work with, and K is Andor's. It's certainly it's kind of Star Wars tradition, basically, to have that. And yeah, I think K is a pretty good droid as far as writing a droid goes.
Yeah,
obviously he's much more.
He's kind of a different.
Yeah, like
he's a different take on the companion droid. He's more violent than R2D2 or C3PO
more violent,
or whatever.
He also can he's humanoid. He can talk fully. It's not just like beep boops. So he obviously is utilized more as like a aggressive action droid more so than a tactical one. Well, I guess he does help with tactics as well, but yeah. So yeah, he's definitely a much more useful, actively useful droid in a lot of situations, which I think is certainly makes him stand apart from other companion droids we see in Star Wars, I guess.
Absolutely, he's an interesting concept, and I enjoyed seeing him just kind of existing and not punching someone's face in this scene.
Yeah, that's true. Is
there anything else we want to say about episode 11?
I don't know. Let's skip through this here. Empire's trying to find
they find this apartment with like triangulation or whatever.
Yeah.
Cassian and the other guy in K2SO beat them by a little bit.
Right.
And then they have like their showdown thing that Cassian and the other guy managed to win.
Obviously, there is the interesting thing that Clea doesn't necessarily want to go to Yavin right away. She's hesitant to go. Which, I mean, again, like it shows that there is clearly dislike between Luthen and the rebels on Yavin. Of course, which I feel like is a little bit odd due to the fact that I think it's pretty clear that Luthen is an important figure and has done a lot in actually setting up the United Rebellion. Because I mean,
and again, I wish we'd heard a little bit more about why everyone is anti-Luthen now.
Because I mean, the only other the other party is Saw Gerrera, which obviously also isn't liked a lot by the Yavin rebels. But obviously Saw is considered an extremist. They call him that in Rogue One, and it's pretty clear that he is that. And what little he actually does in this show, but yeah, it does. It just seems a little bit odd that there'd be that much dislike between them. They don't like the methods, whatever. Yeah, it's a little bit odd and seemed a little bit rushed or not fully dove into.
Sure.
Yeah.
Would be interesting if we could get someone to explore that dynamic in the future, but I also kind of don't want anyone touching Luthen except the guy who directed Andor.
Technically, I don't know.
Tony
If Tony Gilroy
Gilroy,
didn't
I think.
direct it; he wrote it.
Okay, fair enough.
There
Good
was a
point. The
different
guy who
director
wrote
for
Andor.
each trio of episodes.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know, because obviously, like the Tony Gilroy's dream was like a 5-season show of Andor, and obviously we're getting 2, and they spent a ridiculous amount of money on those 2 seasons. So, kind of
But
just had
they're
to squeeze it
also
all
the
in.
best Star Wars Disney has ever made. So
It's true. Like personally, though, what I would have done is I would have combined like the first 2 trios into like one, and then
yeah,
like added an additional 3 episodes for the other 2 trios, which I think are much more interesting episodes. Where stuff actually
that would have
happens. I
been
think
good,
they probably
probably.
could have done it.
I'm sure they could have, but I also did appreciate some of the slower paced stuff in the beginning.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. Although I'm still not a huge fan of the like rebel sect on Yavin early on, where Andor just gets stuck there for like a whole trio of episodes and nothing really gets accomplished. But
Right.
um,
So much of this show isn't
that out.
actually about Andor.
I know, and of course, when that arc with Andor was just kind of boring and drawn out forever. But I mean, it did have a purpose, so I'll give it that. But like, you could still probably shorten that to 1 episode.
Right.
Anyways,
I guess it's all about Andor in kind of the roundabout way that we're seeing the people and events that influenced him and led him to do what he ultimately does in Rogue One. But like,
right,
it's a very indirect way to reflect on his character, which is interesting and fine. It's just he's like the least interesting character in the show.
Sure. Yeah. He really does struggle to have that main character draw. But yeah. So does this episode end with them getting out?
It does not. I think it ends with her agreeing to leave. And then
we have the
episode
actual
12.
face off in episode 12.
Yeah. I think so.
Obviously we can skip through a lot of that. Should probably pause it. Then you can.
Is this? I'm trying to figure out if this is still the This is not still the recap. Okay,
No.
I guess you actually have the showdown with the Imperial people in episode 12 here, which they win. And then they kind of just like get out like super easily, which seems a bit unlikely, but okay.
Yeah. And then it's basically just all set up for Rogue One, more or less. Or tying up the loose ends in the show, which, I mean, great, whatever. I guess it's all like, oh, we got to get the Rebel Council or whatever to agree or believe Andor.
Which is kind of a borrowed plot point from Rogue One.
Kind of. But,
I don't know. I mean, it's kind of the same thing as the previous episode, except with more talking.
A lot more talking. A lot more setup. And of course, it ends basically right where Rogue One began.
Yeah.
Which is...
It ends with him like literally leaving to meet that guy.
Right. And that's...
Like, Rogue One begins with the flashback
scene
to Galen, doesn't it?
Yeah, we get the Galen flashback, but then it's straight to Cassian.
Mm-hmm. And then you have this end bit.
Oh yes, of course. They couldn't resist.
I've seen kind of some varying perspectives on this. Like, I personally thought it was kind of interesting. I've seen a lot of people being like, yeah, they can't just leave it be with a good ending. They have to hint at some future show, which I guess I can see both
Yeah,
sides.
but at the same time, it does, in a way, it offers some closure to Bix, but
yeah, but at the same
I mean,
time,
kind
I
of,
didn't want
yeah.
there to be closure about
I've seen
Bix. I
people
wanted Bix
theorizing
to just
around
be gone.
who their child actually is. Like, I know someone
Oh,
suggested that
jeez.
it's Poe Dameron from the sequel trilogy, which of course
Oh,
isn't
come
canon,
on.
so of course it's not true. So, I don't know. I've
goodness.
seen a lot of things, and I really, gosh, like, what would they like? What show would they create? Actually, invest money in where we actually like get the fine, like what happens next with Bix?
I mean,
Answer:
was
there is
Andor,
none.
if Andor was successful, they would like just make up a random show just to try and make more money, and it wouldn't
Maybe they'll
work
just do
because
like
the next show would be crap.
Tales series, Tales of the Rebellion, or something like that.
Yeah, something.
Something stupid. I mean, I like the
Mhm.
Tales episode, the Tales miniseries or whatever. I think they're kind of interesting to showcase less important characters and give them maybe a little bit more story to them.
I admit I haven't seen them.
Yeah, and the animation, like they've absolutely mastered the Clone Wars animation style as well, which is nice. Yeah, they're like short 15-minute episodes.
Oh, that's not bad at all.
Which is, it's not bad. Obviously, some arcs are better than others. Right now, they have, what do they have? They have
Tales of the Jedi or
Tales of the
whatever.
Jedi, which I believe was, they did. They usually split them into like two different characters. So Tales of the Jedi was Ahsoka and Dooku. Tales of the Empire was,
Oh, right, they made.
what's
Tales
her
of
name?
the-
Morgan Elsbeth from Mandalorian and
Mhm.
Ahsoka, and then Barriss Offee. And then the most recent is Tales of the Underworld, which focused on Ventress and Cad Bane.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. It's nice that they're still utilizing the animation stuff or something.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Honestly, though, I hope that they just don't touch this. I mean, this does
probably
kind of
the
feel a
smartest
little
choice.
like sequel bait. I hope it doesn't become a sequel. And I do think there's a kind of poignant fittingness to like Vix kind of just living out the rest of her life in relative peace with Cassian's
Right.
child.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's fine to just end it there.
Mm-hmm. We don't have to see
but at the same time,
every
I don't think
single
the
thing.
scene was necessary.
Yeah, I agree.
But I mean, I don't know. I think it'd be fine to just have her like message or whatever in episode whatever 9 or whatever it was, where she left, and then that'd be fine as well. But they threw it in.
I think that would have
whatever.
been
It
best
doesn't really.
if they'd left it with the message. I don't think this was the worst thing they could have done, though.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I'm not really insulted at this particular scene. I'm generally neutral to it.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Anyways, I guess that's it for Andor. Yeah. Season 1 I like more. Which, I mean, it's hard to really blame them for making season 2 worse when they had to do the time jump stuff and cram all of that into 12 episodes.
And I don't feel that it's substantially worse either. Like,
no,
it's the kind of.
It's like this.
It's reasonably worse, and not in a way that makes it unwatchable.
Yeah, for sure.
But I would agree. The first.
All right, we're at 45 minutes
better.
here. Do we want to talk about other stuff, other miscellaneous stuff?
It might feel a little bit out of place with like 45 minutes of Andor, but I also don't not want to talk about other stuff.
I mean, we certainly could wait till next week too.
Sure.
Yeah, I think that's probably the smarter idea.
All right then.
Yeah. Cool. Andor is done. What's next for Star Wars?
There's no more
Ahsoka
Star
season 2.
Wars. No, that's definitely not happening. I wish.
Uh,
I don't think. I guess if Thrawn's in it, I'm gonna make myself watch it just because I want to watch Thrawn, and then I'm gonna be mad
Yeah,
because
watch
they make him look like an
Butcher,
idiot.
Thrawn, and yeah. Yeah, I don't know what the next one is. Looks like Ahsoka season 2 is 2026. Along with the Mandalorian movie is next year as well.
Oh, that's right. I guess that won't
something like that.
necessarily be horrible.
Yeah, I don't know.
There's a high chance of it being pretty bad.
I did not like season 1. I liked the Anakin episode in season 1. That was it, and that's basically just fan service. So,
Of Ahsoka.
Ahsoka, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think anyone liked the first season of Ahsoka. It was just dumb. The villains
Everyone
were
liked
the best
Balin and
part.
Shin.
Balin was cool.
Yeah. I'm hoping the guy they recast for him will do as good of a job. But
yeah, and I hope they lay
No,
out
I,
his backstory a little more.
I will say Ahsoka wasn't as insultingly bad as other Disney Star Wars projects, but it certainly had many, many issues. Sabine should not be force sensitive. Thrawn should be smarter.
I haven't watched the whole of The Acolyte, and I've heard that pretty horrifically bad, but I thought Ahsoka was pretty far down on the chart for bad Star Wars shows. Like,
yeah, I mean,
I arguably would rather watch Kenobi than Ahsoka, which is really saying something.
That's a tough one. I'd say I'd prefer Ahsoka over Kenobi. This barely. Yeah, I don't like either of them, but it was tolerable. It was tolerable. And there's some other stupid stuff in that show. Like, it's mostly just the Sabine stuff was stupid. She shouldn't be force sensitive. What else? Thrawn.
The entire show was just like Ahsoka driving circles around everyone else. It never felt like she or anyone else with her was remotely in any danger, and it just made the whole thing boring.
Yeah, that's kind of true.
Like in Kenobi,
because like the Balin stuff is like Balin carried the show because he was actually interesting. He seemed to have a fairly unique philosophy on the Force. He clearly has an alternative agenda beyond Thrawn, which will hopefully be explored. We know he found a statue of Mortis to do whatever. Yeah. Well, we'll see. I don't like, and the way it ended too was kind of stupid. It basically just ended like, oh yeah, the Ezra's now safe, but Ahsoka and Sabine are trapped, or however the heck it ended. I know it ended something stupid. It kind of just did a flip flop.
I don't even remember.
I don't know.
I'm sure that even if they were trapped, they'll snap their fingers and get back to the rest of the galaxy in the first episode of season 2.
Yeah, probably. And then they'll do whatever.
Thrawn will not be smart, and Ahsoka will like raid his Death Star and kill everybody with no help at all, or something like that.
Maybe. I don't know. I'm curious, like, will they bring in deep fake Luke again for Ahsoka season 2?
Oh man.
Yeah, I don't know because supposedly it's going to be building up to the Mandalorian and Grogu movie, but like I just don't know what they're going to do. They haven't established, I don't think, enough characters to really do that. Because like, I mean, it's clear that they want to do like the Thrawn campaign that was in like the Legends books, but like,
Right, which is great. I love
which
those
is
books.
yeah, I haven't read them, but they seem to be very beloved by fans. But I
I
just
mean,
feel like
they have
some of
their
the setups just
flaws,
not.
but
Yeah, yeah. But I
I
don't know. I
agree.
feel
The
like it's
setup
too
isn't
little,
there.
too late. The setup's not there.
And I feel like part of that is that they've kind of divorced the Mandalorian and Grogu from like the rest of the narrative of Star Wars when they had Grogu give up his Jedi training. Because now it's just like him and Din Djarin running
I mean,
around doing whatever they want.
Grogu's entire purpose is to just like sell merchandise.
Exactly. It's so
Like that's
stupid.
it. And then like Pedro Pascal's probably not even going to be in the suit. He's going to do the voice,
Probably
which like
not.
whatever. Because Pedro Pascal, I'm sick of Pedro Pascal.
He's not a bad actor. He's
He's
just
not a
in
bad actor. He's just,
everything.
I know he's in everything, and I feel like he's not necessarily the best fit for everything he's been in.
Yeah, he just takes like
Reed
whatever
Richards.
role they offer him.
God, I can't wait for the dumpster next month. I can't. Next month is going to be really interesting. Because next month has Superman, it has
Oh, Superman.
Fantastic Four, and it has Jurassic Park World Rebirth, whatever they want to call it.
Are people still watching Jurassic World?
Yes, it made a crap ton of money. Although this one's technically a softer reboot. It's directed.
A second? It's a soft reboot of a soft reboot.
Basically. Let me see this. Da-da-da. And Gareth Edwards is directing it though. He directed Rogue One, so.
Okay, interesting.
And
Interesting.
what's it called? The creator, I believe he's behind that as well.
Oh, right, that's right.
And I do think this one does
I
have
remember
a
the creator.
smallish budget compared to the Jurassic World movies. I know this one
Arguably
has.
promising.
This one has Scarlett Johansson in it. Mahershala Ali is in it. Yeah, I don't know. Oh, here
Okay,
I
well,
can
maybe
share.
it'll be
It is.
interesting.
Rebirth. Here's the cast. I don't know. We'll see how this goes. Then of course you have Fantastic. Like I don't think Fantastic Four is going to be that good. I'm not optimistic for it.
I'm not either, but I also don't think it's going to be quite as bad as some people think it's going to be.
Yeah, we'll see. Well, yeah,
Like,
I'm not. I mean, like, so Thunderbolts was half decent. So
mhm.
maybe they've made changes to some other films. This one will also be half decent. But I'm not particularly confident with it. But we'll see.
I mean, I don't think it's going to save the MCU or something,
No,
which I think
definitely
is
not.
what
I
Marvel
don't think
wanted it to
really
do.
can.
Yeah, probably not.
I don't even think Doomsday could save it.
No, Doomsday has no shot of saving it. No one cares about your shares.
The chairs. Gosh, the
What they
chairs.
need to do with the MCU at this point is accept that their audience is just very dedicated fans, and they're never going to have another Endgame, and they need to just scale back the budget and make decent movies that are like faithful to the comic books, so that the
Right.
people who actually care will come and watch it, and it'll make
That's
a modest profit.
Yeah, everyone that was a fan has been basically turned away from it. They might still see the movie, but they're probably coming in with such a cynical, pessimistic outlook that even if the movie's halfway decent, they're not going to go around like telling everyone this movie's so great, go see this movie. They're not going to do that.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of the main issue that the Marvel movies have is they don't generate enough buzz to actually get the normies into the theater,
Right.
which is why like Thunderbolts more or less is like was a flop. Um, or
So
at least it wasn't.
Thunderbolts,
They
like,
didn't gross enough.
I thought it nearly broke even.
Well, I think it may have still made a profit, but like it's
Okay.
wasn't. It didn't meet the expectation for it or something like that. I think that's what I
Sure,
heard.
but if it's
Obviously,
making a
like
profit, that's
the thing is though is
not
that
bad.
like it has a significantly lower budget than we've seen on some other recent Marvel films, which I think could be a
Wasn't it
step in
like
the right direction.
180 mil?
Yeah, 180 mil. Like compared to
Okay.
like uh oops, like that. Some
So on
sources
paper, it
suggest it
had
could have been even
180.
up to 400 million due to reshoots and stuff.
That if it
Um,
was 180 million, that made a profit too,
it
though,
actually
because it
costs
made 400
380
million.
million. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, then it did make a profit. That's funny.
Yeah, yeah, it's kind of insane. But if they do like actually have like lower production costs, that could help them out a little bit. Maybe we'll see. I mean, that might be one benefit to like killing off all your legacy characters. You don't have to pay actors as much money to show up.
True.
Of course, though, the actors help people get people in the seats, at least a little bit,
Unfortunately.
or at least the characters they're associated with. But, anyways, that's enough yapping about other stuff. I think we're good. We almost to an hour now.
Yeah, probably so.
Yeah, I think we're good
Yeah, lots
here.
of interesting movies coming up, though.
Mm-hmm. For sure. We'll see you in episode 19. Hopefully, maybe next week. We'll see.